What is it like living with depression? How do you imagine it when you first become depressed and then suicidal? Every morning it's the same. Getting up feels like you're pushing yourself against an invisible wall and you're fighting against a force that presses you deep into the mattress with brute force. The alarm goes off, but instead of jumping out of bed, I hit the snooze button every 10 minutes for an hour. The blanket over my head is not only a protection from the cold room, but also from the dark world outside, which sometimes feels too big and threatening, and every day becomes more of an enemy that doesn't want me any good. The simplest tasks of the day seem like insurmountable hurdles: brushing teeth, showering, getting dressed, going to the mailbox, or getting groceries. Things that used to be completely normal now costs an infinite amount of energy, and you just don't have the strength to do some of them. Opening letters, for example. It's as if my body is constantly moving in slow motion, caught in a heavy invisible fog that makes any movement almost impossible, and worst of all, makes everything I do seem meaningless. Eating breakfast? I often forget to do it or simply have no appetite. Sometimes I just sit there staring at the empty table, sipping a coffee at most and wondering how it could have come to this. Why? Asks my heart-rending cry, which stretches through time and space and rarely receives an answer. The feeling of emptiness stretches through the entire day, accompanied by a heavy, all-encompassing sadness that seems to have no clear reason. It almost seems as if my entire being is loudly crying accusingly over the loss of all perspective and zest for life. When I manage to go to work, I feel like an actor in a badly staged play. I smile and pretend that everything is fine, while inside a storm rages and the stage I'm standing on is dissolving piece by piece. I then find it incredibly difficult to concentrate, and I constantly make mistakes because my thoughts are constantly wandering. At the end of a sentence, its beginning is hidden in the darkness of infinity, and there is nothing to say because I can no longer remember the question, which has become as meaningless as the dark moment of my entire existence. Meeting friends? I usually say no, because leaving the house is a huge effort. The loneliness is overwhelming and sometimes feels deadly, but I can hardly stand the company of other people. The happiness of their existence is no longer tangible, and I don't understand why I'm no longer allowed to have a part in it, even though everyone wants to dance through life with me. Their cheerful "come" shatters against the thick frosted glass that separates me from them and from life and all the beautiful things that happens to others. The joy of hobbies is no longer even a memory. Activities that I used to enjoy are as if erased. I no longer feel the reason that I enjoyed them, and none of the desire that used to drive me out of the house, always looking for the next kick or a nice evening with people I liked. And then there are the sleepless nights. I lie awake for hours staring at the ceiling while my thoughts circle incessantly and make a loud noise. Even sleep offers no relief. I often wake up in the middle of the night, tormented by nightmares or inexplicable restlessness, and the darkness of the night throws its heavy cloak over the sun of the day, which slowly but surely suffocates beneath it. Everything seems pointless and hopeless and without perspective. Life, which was once so colorful and full of possibility, is now an endless gray landscape in which every step becomes torture. The future is just a vague shadow slipping into the finality of the monstrous darkness from which nothing and no one can escape. The here and now and every friendly hello has long since become a heavy weight that pulls me down to the bottom of hell, whose fires in reality are indescribable mental anguish, whose flames roast me alive. Depression is more than just sadness. It is as if your soul is slowly dying and the world around you is losing its color a little more every day until all that is left in a grayish black mess that dries out slowly and then faster and faster in the storm of life and is dissolved into its individual atoms, which are blown deep into the darkness of the universe and lost in the infinity of space. And yet I try to carry on day after day, hoping that a spark of light is waiting somewhere on the horizon. But the longer it stays dark, the stronger the overwhelming desire to prefer the uncertainty of death to the certainty of the current state, with no joy and no prospects. What is initially just a frightening thought becomes my friend, and finally death turns into a real perspective and solution that strikes when I and all people in my dreary life least expect it. It is not me, but it that presses the off button, and there is nothing I can do at that moment except die. My earlier cry for why becomes a general question to which there will no longer be an answer, except this: I had failed to run towards the spark of hope in the darkness in time. I was not aware that it is always there, even if I cannot see the hope, like the lighthouse at the coast that is always burning but cannot be seen from every point on the sea. In my second attempt at life, I groped my way along, cried, screamed, begged desperately, and when I no longer believed in it, because the dark night had even lost its blackness and death was reaching for its second chance, I saw a glow that was repeatedly extinguished in the storm and yet appeared again and again like the sparks of a lighter that just won't burn. A glow that then became a small flame and spread into a fire from which my life was born anew. Colorful, big, prettier, better, happy, with little black spots that makes the color really shine. I had to die to be able to really live and find answers. Don't give up, no matter how dark it is. You are stronger. You always were, but right now you have forgotten it. Run.